welcome you watching a new edition of the Daily Scope. I'm your host, Caitlin Ahmed Hammoud. Joining us today in the studio with further analysis on what's headlining newspapers worldwide is political analyst Dr. Nabil Khalil. A warm welcome to you, Doctor.
Thank you very much.
Now let's begin our tour of the headlines in the Middle East. Lebanon's Al Akhbar. Nasrallah says Takfiris want us to target our Sunni brothers, but it won't happen. Lebanon's Naharnet. Nasrallah says Hezbollah seeks dialogue and settlement cabinet offered portfolio concessions for country's sake. Amman Tribune. Muallim says peace talks did not fail. Syria approved the agenda proposed by mediator Lakhdar Brahimi. The Syria Times. Wall Street Journal. Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to supply terrorist groups in Syria with anti-aircraft missiles. Egypt's Al Ahram. Analysts say tourist attack in Egypt may be turning point. And UAE's The National. Shia leader al-Sadr quits politics in Iraq. Well, Dr. Khalil, a warm welcome to you again. Now, as we saw, Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah yesterday gave a large speech yesterday, and he said yesterday that everyone is under threat from the Takfiris, as we know, starting in Lebanon. Do you believe everyone will unite in this fight against terrorism?
This is our hope, actually, and the hope of everyone who lives in this country. But it's really far from being realistic. We need to have all the political and social powers fighting together against this phenomena, which is Takfiri. And we need all the concession that can be done in order to get this object.
Okay, well, looking at the recent gains made by the Syrian army, do you believe, are we going to expect more attacks or retaliations from Syria into Lebanon?
Well, this could happen if Lebanon did not participate, if the brave people of Lebanon did not participate in reaching the point of safeguard the frontiers between Syria and Lebanon. If the powerful people in Lebanon did not start participating in the war actively, trying to get these Takfiris away from the frontier of Lebanon, we could see much more terrorists coming in to Lebanon, and this could not be possible to control. Nowadays, it's much more difficult for these groups to reach the territory of Lebanon with their car bombs and terrorists.
Well, certain countries, such as Saudi Arabia, has previously said that they will put Saudi nationals who are currently fighting in Syria, when they do return, they will receive jail sentence. However, in opposing, they have continued aiding extremists, as we saw from the Wall Street Journal, that they said that they're going to supply extremists with anti-aircraft missiles. Now, if delivered, will these supplies basically give a tip to the battlefield scales, and so how would they judge, or how would you evaluate Saudi's double standards?
Actually, it is double standard on the media arena, but on the practice, this is what Saudi Arabia is for. They are taking place of United States and all the Western power that they see the advance made by the Syrian army as a dangerous for themselves. They need to have this balance, or what they call balance between power in Syria, fighting power in Syria. They need to have this balance under control. We remember what happened before the attack that was to be against Syria from the United States, and they accused Syria after the Qusayr situation, that they need to have the balance again, and they wanted to have the attack, to start the attack against Syria. We see now the same situation with what's happening in Yabrud and in Kalamoun. The advance made by the Syrian army need to be stopped by these powers. Despite of what Saudi Arabia has said, that they are withdrawing from Syria, they have to announce to their allies that we are still there, because they can't make U-turn on this situation. They have to withdraw from the situation in Syria gradually, and this is with their allies, and they have to support the Syrian groups that belong to the what they call opposition, in order to have the balance with the Syrian army power. So it's very difficult situation, it's very complicated situation, and it's going to be paid back to Saudi Arabia, because as much as they finance these opposition groups, it will turn back against them, as all the observers agree.
So you believe that it will backfire on Saudi Arabia, whereby Saudi Arabia may witness a stance or stability of terrorism itself?
Well, this is what happened after the war in Algeria with the extremist Muslims in Algeria. This is what happened after the extremist war in Afghanistan, in Somalia, and the list is long. Every time that there is these countries like Saudi Arabia and even Egypt help one of these groups of extremists in these countries, it turns back against them. This is what happened in Egypt afterward, and after the war of Afghanistan, and we saw it as much in Saudi Arabia, and it's obviously going to happen again after the war ended, and we hope it's going to end very soon in Syria. It's going to turn back against Saudi Arabia and many of the Western countries.
Okay, well, Doctor, let me ask you a bit. Let's localize our questions now to Lebanon itself. As we know, they've recently formed a cabinet. Do you believe this cabinet will last until the upcoming presidential elections?
Well, there have been so many concessions made to have this government last as long as it needs to reach the elections and other obligatory dates of the constitution of the country. And as far as this country needs to have this government, as far as these political groups understand the need of this coalition, I think it will last. And yes, I see it is going to last as much as they need it to have.
Okay, why have so many different people, why have they in Lebanon continue to accuse Hezbollah of that they've been the problem to the 10-month delay, whereby, as we know, they've continued with the state and with national partnership, as we could say?
Well, it's not national government. It is only concession between some groups. It's only agreements between the majority of the political groups. Many of these patriot political groups are out of this. But it's not the situation. This situation is not made by Hezbollah. It's all the contrary. Hezbollah made concession to get the government done, and many other political groups made this concession in order to have a coalition, kind of coalition between the major parties of the country, in order to have to release this country a little bit, and to have a possibility and chances to face the challenges that faces this country.
Okay, well, Doctor, in Syria, as we know, the Geneva talks have recently ended. Would you agree with Syria's Foreign Minister Walid Muallim that the talks were not a failure, that they did make progress, important progress?
It depends on what is important progress. Important progress is to have these groups politically in agreement with what Syria needs to have done. Syria now in a huge challenge against the terrorists. If this coalition group, this opposition group, did not agree to talk about the main problem of Syria, which is terrorists, there are more than 50,000 armed men in Syria that belong to more than 58 countries all over the world, and they are fighting the Syrian people. They are fighting among each other. They are fighting the Syrian Arabic Army. They are fighting every sense of the state of Syria. If this group have no understanding of this reality, if they don't know the dangers of this situation on the ground, they cannot be part of the negotiations.
So should we expect to see more talks in Geneva until we find a solution?
Of course they have. If they don't understand this situation, the reality of Syria, there is no point in going ahead with other subjects that has to do with the power. Like they anxious to get into the power. They are anxious to be part of the governing group. Nevertheless, in order to be part of this governing group, they have to understand what is the major object of this governing group. If they can't understand it and they are out of political arena, and they don't understand the obligation of the politicians that have to be part of the coalition in Syria, they can't participate on this. So the agenda must be clear. What we are going to do if we are together. If you don't have the agenda clear, you can't work together.
Exactly. Doctor, as you did explain, the agenda does need to be very clear. And if the path of these talks do not go according to that, what do you believe would be the solution for peace and stability in Syria, and for peace in the end? I mean, it's all because of the Syrian people. The Syrian people are the ones suffering here. What's the solution?
Well, the solution, as I was telling you, the solution is to understand the main enemy, the main issue that is happening in Syria. Today, Syria as a state could be falling apart if the people of Syria do not get together as they are in Geneva, trying to get together, understand each other, and put an agenda to fight together against all the major issues that facing Syria. And this is the main solution. Geneva is a real chance for everyone. It's win-win situation. It's for every group on the ground, on the arena, on the opposition, to participate in having Syria united again, in having Syria not as a group and small emirates and small principate, etc. They need to get together to understand what they need to do in order to make a coalition, or whatever you can call it, government, to remake and to overcome the challenges of the country.
Okay, well, if in time, let's say, the Syrian crisis does end, will Syria itself ever be what it once was?
It needs time. Syria before the war was free of all debts. Now it have 35 or 40 billion dollar in debt. If we are talking economy, many of the real energy and power, human sources of the country went off, whether they died or they're in jail or they're prisoners or they left the country. Now, in order to get these people back and to get the investment, the trust in the country, it's a huge challenge. But first of all, we need to get the violence out of the country. We need to get together in order to understand what are the real challenges of the people and of Syria. And it will be back together and it will be better, might. I have big trust in Syrian people. All along the history, they have been like coming out of nothing and remaking their own country and becoming better and better than before, of course.
Okay, well, Doctor, let's cross over to Egypt right now. The terrorist attack that happened yesterday in Egypt that we all saw, witnessed, this was the first terrorist attack on tourists in Egypt in over a decade. Now, with fear of escalation, should the police force actually be reconstructed?
The violence in Egypt is increasingly working on not only in Sinai, but mainly in Sinai. And it has to do with in major part of it, with the tactics of these takfiris and these armed groups. Not only in Egypt, they have their filials in Syria, we have been talking about it now, and Iraq and other places. Even in Lebanon, they have their own affiliation groups. It's very important to fight these groups in Egypt in the way that is available. And it's not the fight of Egypt country and Egypt government, it's the fight of the people of Egypt. The challenge is very real big now. It is threatening Egypt and threatening the whole area. This need to be taken seriously, and these groups has to be taken off the arena of Egypt.
Well, do you believe that this attack yesterday was a test for Sisi?
Could you say that again?
Do you believe that this attack yesterday, the terrorist attack or the attack on the tourists that happened, do you believe it is a test for General Sisi?
It's related to all the situation in Egypt. It's not targeting Sisi or...
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Yeah, so it is. So let me ask you this, Doctor. Do you see Sisi as president the best for the Egyptian people and therefore Egypt's future?
This is for Egyptian to decide. An election would say. But so far, this man had done what the Egypt, this man has worked on the stability of the country, and what need to be done is get together with the Islamic groups, that is political groups, that has been in power before Sisi, and make the agenda to work together for Egypt. The violence could continue if political situation in Egypt is in an unrest situation. The groups, the political groups that need to be in participation with the political issues of the country, they have to embrace any agreement or some agreement that benefit Egypt. Egypt is very important for the whole area. If the Egyptian political group of Egypt are part of them in prisons and they are persecuted, we can't get together. We can't get all the powers in order to get Egypt from what is the situation today and what the threats of tomorrow against its country. So yes, I think he have done enough, a lot. He have done a lot, but it's not enough. What is enough is to get in agreement with the political groups, all the political groups, in order to make Egypt pass this situation.
Okay, let's move over to another country which is also facing terrorism itself, which is Iraq. I mean, as we know, in the province of Anbar, they would have a lot of problems. They've been going in and try to rid of Al-Qaeda. However, the situation is today, the Shia Ali al-Sadr quit politics there. Now, why would you believe that? What would prompt the Sayyid Muqtada al-Sadr to actually take such a move?
Well, I think this Sayyid Muqtada al-Sadr had done this in different time of the history of Iraq, and it's a kind of condemning the situation in Iraq. It's showing that Iraq is not a sectarian situation. It's not Shiite against Sunni, and it's not Sunni against Kurdish. It's one country. It's a historical country, and this attitude is condemning the situation that the same people of Anbar and Fallujah and other places of Iraq are condemning. They are against it. And Muqtada al-Sadr, as part of Iraqi people, he is condemning the same situation. So I think this should unify the Iraqis people behind one or behind their own political aims, which is having better Iraq for everyone.
Exactly. Well, that wraps up the Middle East, Doctor. Now, please stay tuned as we take a quick break.
Time. Variable. Event. The only constant variable in life is change. Broader perspective. arguments and counter-arguments on our platform.
Global Insights. The Globe on our platform.
Beyond the lines. Beyond the surface. Depth, clarity, substance. Beyond the discourse.
Beyond politics, beyond the shallowness of everyday politics.
Welcome back to the Daily Scope. Now let's cross over to the Israeli entity's top stories. Haaretz. Government plan would give benefits to 35 isolated settlements. The Jerusalem Post. Explosion on tourist bus in Sinai kills 4 near Israeli border. Bus was ferrying Christian tourists who plan to enter Israel. And Yedioth Ahronoth. Israel does not scare us, Nasrallah says. Nowadays, no one wants to talk about Palestine and the Israeli enemy. Okay, well, Doctor, Israel does continue to construct more settlements. However, now they're actually accepting to give benefits to these settlements, which does include security, education, infrastructure. The big question is now, why have the so-called peace talks not been stopped?
It is not being stopped. It will never be stopped. This country is a country of settlement. The object of Israel is to take all the land and make their own big, huge Israel. This is their dream. This is the Zionist dream. And if anyone could think that this might stop because of agreement, they are naive politically, because this is what Israel for.
Exactly. Let me ask you, what is the significance that Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah yesterday actually started his worldwide speech by reminding everyone of the Israeli enemy? What's the significance
because
of that?
Because now every group is creating his own enemy. And unfortunately, it's not only this forgetting Israel, Palestinian situation. It's creating an image of the Palestinian double. It's in Egypt. If you see the media in Egypt, they are accusing Palestinians of being part of the situation in Egypt, the political situation, and they are really far of it. I mean, it's no way that the Palestinian, this small little group of Palestinians, can make any influence in Egypt. Yet, nevertheless, you see in the media they are creating this negative image about the Palestinians. If you look at Syria and even in Lebanon, the car bombs that comes out of anywhere, there's always a Palestinian involved there. They don't forget about any other national group, and they point their fingers on the Palestinian in the camp. That's why he mentioned this, that let's get the Palestinian camps out of this conflict, because there is really an interest for Israel and for United States to get the Palestinian involved in every local conflict in order to say these are our enemy. It's not Israel. This is the situation in Palestine is not our concern, like many countries in the area is saying, and frontier countries saying, our country goes first. Okay, can you make your country first if you have an enemy on your frontier? Any country on the frontier of Israel, of this state, has frontier problems, and they try to take land from every one of the countries that around Israel. So actually the main conflict in the area, the main target of the people of the area, the main enemy is Israel. Yet nevertheless they are creating us the Shia enemy, the Sunni enemy, the whatever. Even within the same sect, there are more groups that creating enmity between each other. And this is their object, fight among each other, and we will take care of the land. We will make more settlement, we will take over your resources, and we will make you as poor as possible.
Exactly. Well, Doctor, as you did bring up Egypt, let me go into this question. As we saw the explosion yesterday, which we already did speak about, let me ask you from this angle. Of course, after the tourist bomb, after it did go off on the Israeli-Egyptian border, Egypt actually refused or denied Israel's medical support or medical assistance, if I would say. Now, what does this signify? What does this mean for the relation between Egypt and Israel?
Actually, Israel always looks to their own benefits on giving a hand on this situation or any other situation. They are interested in aggravating the situation on the frontier with Egypt. It's not benefit of Israel to have the situation stable in the frontier of Egypt. Look at the same image on the other side of the frontier with Israel, which is in Syria. Now they have hospitals on the ground of Syria trying to help what they call opposition, which is the extremist arm in Syria. They are taking them into the Palestinian land, hospitals, to cure them, to help them, to arm them, to train them, and send them back to Syria. So when their interest is proliferating the proliferation of the conflict, they did all the humanitarian help they need. Yet if it's about the stability of Egypt and giving hand on the other side, yet despite of the agreement there is between Egypt and Israel, it's normal. It's obvious. They refuse it.
Exactly, Doctor. Very good point. Well made. Israel always makes himself a victim. Now, moving over to Europe. UK's Daily Express. 70% say we must ban new migrants. Spain's El País. Police report 30,000 migrants awaiting border crossing attempt. News comes in wake of deaths of 15 sub-Saharans in Ceuta. And Germany's Deutsche Welle. Counter-espionage boost. Okay, Doctor, what do you believe, or in accordance to Britain's current economy and stability, what do you believe? Why would 3 out of 4 Britons actually want immigration to actually stop or slow down and complete?
The situation in Europe is real tough, the economical situation. Even for those people who lived there before the immigration, before what they call the Arab winter or the dark spring of the area. Before this, the situation of Europe, the economical situation, and in the United States went deteriorating. So how they will deal with thousands of people who comes from the African borders to Europe or from Middle East conflict? They provoke the Middle East conflict in order to sort out situation inside this country, to have the poor people inside and make them poorer and take their resources, as they do all over the world, and mainly on the Middle East. If they count on this and they do not count on immigration, what they call illegal immigration to their country, they are making a big mistake in this subject. The situation on the Middle East, now we are living in a small little town in this world, in this planet. If you're not taking care of your neighbor, you'll be in bad shape. And this country has been taking care of themselves and taking care of the sources on the countries around them, whether in Europe or in the Middle East. They take the resources of these countries, they're making the people poor. Many countries on on the African continent are one of the most richest of rich people in the world, yet they have the poorest situation on the world. Why? Because these companies are taking all the resources from Africa and leaving the people in bad shape. They need to find solution for the situation. If you don't find solution on these countries, if you don't help these countries, if you don't stop stealing and evaporating the sources of this country without giving benefits to these people, you'll find them in your house. This is the obvious situation. This is a historical situation. It's not today's situation. Yet it's being aggravated because of the crisis, economical crisis in Europe, and they go for these solutions, which is not taking them anywhere.
Definitely, a solution does need to be found on that. Now, across the Atlantic to Latin America. Venezuela's El Universal. 25 released after student protests in Venezuela. Venezuela analysis. Venezuela's Maduro holds mass rally to reject violence as protests continue. And Venezuela Post. Venezuela reaffirms economic reform measures. Okay, well, Doctor, in Venezuela now, actually Maduro, the president, Nicolas Maduro, has expelled 3 U.S. consul officials as the country has been seeing a growing political instability. Now, how do you evaluate the current situation in Venezuela? Will tensions ease, or will we actually see more violent, more attacks?
Well, unfortunately, Venezuela is facing one of the situations where people start to say, this is mine, I'm going to take care of it, and I'm going to distribute it for the marginalized big group of my country. And the other side, which is United States mainly, and part of their allies in Venezuela say these sources have been mine always, and I'm going to keep taking it from you, even if I have to overthrow a legal government, like the government of Nicolas Maduro. And they tried to do this before with President Hugo Chavez, and they will continue doing it. Unfortunately, this attitude of United States that obliged the government, the legal government of Nicolas Maduro, to take out of the embassy these 3 diplomats had been part of the issues in Venezuela. Every time the diplomats, United States diplomats in Caracas, they agitate the political groups in Venezuela, and they try to keep the situation unstable in this country in order to help those groups who tried to overthrow the government, to make a kind of coup d'etat in Venezuela and overthrow the government of Nicolas Maduro. This is an attitude that they will continue trying to do it. And the government has the obligation, and he's applying his obligation, to get these diplomats out of the country for interfering in the situation of Venezuela, and for trying to get the Venezuelan against each other. The measures, the economical measures, are obligation of the government of Nicolas Maduro, and he is applying them gradually. Yet the challenges, the economical challenges of this country are real huge. If we take in account that these groups that are allies with the United States are having more than half, or I would say, as observers agree, 2/3 part of the economy of the country, and they are looking to the last third that is going to benefit the marginalized and poor people of Venezuela.
Well, do you believe President Maduro in any possible way is in danger of losing his post?
I think Nicolas Maduro is politically prepared and has been very close to Hugo Chavez, and has the political view of Hugo Chavez and their group. and he has enough power, and he has enough support from the majority of the people of Venezuela that allow him to overcome the situation. Yet it's very difficult, it's very hard for United States and for their allies to see that there is sovereign government telling them that I will take this because it's mine, and I'll not allow you to take my sources and keep my people in a poor shape.
A very well point made, Doctor. Now finally, sliding over to the USA. The Washington Times. Obama's executive actions can backfire on Democrats. Republican could dismantle his law. The New York Times. On Health Act, Democrats run in fix-it mode. And Washington Examiner. Senator Mike Lee says unilateral Obamacare delays non-defensible. Doctor, as we know, President Obama has repeatedly used his executive powers without Congress on multiple attempts, on multiple occasions, to ease a rollout, especially on his health law. Now, let's say if the Republicans do take the White House in 2016, will this not backfire, not just on Obama, but on Americans themselves?
Americans themselves doesn't count for Republicans or for Democrats. It's a fight for power between these two parties. And mainly what is the health care, the Obama's health care, is for the benefits of the people, and it's the last, point where Obama can get success or some success on information, on the media, to get the people understand that the Democrats on the next elections are better off than the Republicans. Obama's administration did not fulfill all the promises on the in the economical arena. Today we see the currency, the dollar is going back against any other currency on the country. The deficit is growing. Many of the promises of Obama had not been fulfilled in many ways, and this is the I could call it the last bastion of the Democrats to demonstrate that this is our aim, but the Republicans refused to agree on it. And as it's been said, it's too late. It's undefensible. It's unapplicable now that the president is going to what they call a lame duck period of time.
Okay, well, Doctor, exactly, like as you mentioned, with his 2-year terms almost up, I mean, he has 2 more year terms left, do you believe that President Obama, as he is trying to reform immigration, he's trying to his health care, with democracy, with Iran, all the things that he's trying to do, as he has already broken many of his promises, they've not been fulfilled, do you believe he's just simply trying to better his image before his time does run out?
Well, this question is very interesting, and I'm telling you that the United States has no interest of improving image. I mean, Obama improving image for him is improving the economy, because the internal situation is the most important point for the voters in the United States. This is history. It's been said and it's been done all the time. And dealing with the Iranian situation would improve the economy of the West, which is improving the economy of the United States. It's for the benefits of the United States to improve the relationship with Iran, because this is a huge market. It's a huge economic agreement that can be on the benefits of the United States, and it's this is healing the situation. It's healing the deteriorated economical situation of the United States, and as much as preparing for the future president, if he's coming as Democrat, because this is the solution that Democrats has been looking for all the time. We know that Republicans come, destroy the economy, bring the armament, and improve the lobby of this industry, the armament industry, and the Democrats start to do the in-house issues to make the economy of the in-house issue, and this is one of the aims of the Democrats and among them President Obama. So would this improve his image inside? I don't see how. As far as he can make improvement in the economy of the country these 2 years, this will be the point to count on the next elections.
Definitely. Well, I'd like to thank my guest, Dr. Nabil Khalil, political analyst. Thank you very much for joining us in the studio today. Well, viewers, I'm afraid that's all the time we have for our show today. From the Daily Scope team, thank you very much for watching.